Welcome back. College graduation season upon us, and it leaves us asking the big question, where are the jobs for these hundreds of thousands of students graduating? Joining me right now to talk about it is Rob Basso. He's president of Advantage Payroll Services. Also with me is Alan Guarino. He is vice chairman at Korn Ferry. Gentlemen, good to have you both on the program.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. I want you to answer the question, where are the jobs? But first, set the stage for us, Rob. Are people who are graduating this year having more success than they have been last year in the last few years, or less?
Well, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that every survey I looked at, there's between 10 and 15% more hires this year than last year. The bad is that they're coming out of school with an enormous amount of debt. Not just them, believe it or not, the baby boomers have huge college debt for putting their Gen Xers through college. And the ugly is that only 8% of businesses that are available in the U.S. are owned by people under 30, so they're not being entrepreneurial.
Okay, so they're getting jobs,
Yep.
but they're not necessarily doing what they wanted to do or what they can do.
Yep, I would agree.
I mean, we talked earlier, and the last time you were with me, Alan, on the fact that when we speak to CEOs and managers of businesses, they can't find the people that they need to put into the jobs that are actually available. There are jobs, they just can't find the skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got 5.5 million jobs still unfilled in America, and yet we have unemployment that's approaching a reasonable number, but we still have unemployed. So there is a skills mismatch. The good news is, in terms of hiring demand this year, financial services is back. It's the number 2 with about 31% growth compared to last year. And of course, the leading area for job creation and hiring of college graduates is information services, 51%. So you're talking about Google and these companies that are involved in analytics and so on and so forth.
Okay, so 51% on IT, information or information services.
Yes, exactly.
Well, there's additional industries like business service industries. Deloitte is hiring at a very fast rate for recent college grads in the accounting business. My business, I own a 50-person company, Advantage Payroll Services. We're hiring. So it's not just the large entities that are hiring. Small and medium-sized businesses are hiring as well.
Business services.
Business services.
Business services, financial services, and information technology.
Absolutely.
These are where the jobs are right now.
Absolutely.
People graduating today, do they have the right skill sets to get those jobs?
So interesting. There's 2 levels looking at it, right? So you've got experience, you've got competencies, you've got traits, and you've got drivers. I think in terms of the competencies, these are things that you learn, that you have as technical acumen, reasonably adequate, certainly not killing it, right? So CEOs are going to say to you, gee, we wish they were better schooled. The other key elements, though, are things like learning agility, which really predicts their ability to become future leaders. I think the data in our survey was that half of the hiring now is focused on hiring future leaders. The other half of the hiring that's happening is looking for immediate needs. So if half the hiring is around future leaders, you're going to want to make sure they're learning agile.
If you have leadership and you're looking for leadership, does that mean that the companies are going to provide some kind of training?
Great question.
I mean, that's
great question. So the graduates will tell you last year that 3/4 of them expected formal training from their company, and less than 30% feel as though they received it. So there's a definite mismatch, which goes to another key thing. If you're a company trying to hire this talent, it really is about your employer brand.
Yeah.
It's something that is critical if you want to attract the right people.
It's interesting because actually I spent really 20 years at CNBC, but it was owned by General Electric. And because I was a GE person, I was able to take building essential leadership skills and lots of training classes, which I so appreciate because I did learn a lot about leadership. But how many companies are equipped to do that?
Well, Maria, what I find interesting is that 60% of the young adults going out looking for positions right now are looking for a good, solid social atmosphere. It's not just about the pay that they receive, it's about being part of a theme. And it really couples to what you were saying, is that your brand needs to shine through to the new hires that you're bringing on board. And millennials are just not looking for pay anymore. They're looking for a work-life balance like no other person's ever looked for.
Let's talk about that for a second. So the millennials are those graduating today?
Yes.
Okay, so the millennials are looking for jobs, and they want more than just a good paycheck.
That's right. They want more than just a good paycheck. They want a good social environment. They want the proper benefits. They want free time. They want flexible work hours. It's not like the Gen Xers or the baby boomers. They're a very different breed of people. And not to say that it's bad, it's just different, and employers need to realize that the millennial generation is different and they need to hire accordingly.
Yeah, no question about it. As a matter of fact, they'll tell you they think they're being hired into teams, not into companies.
Right.
So it's very interesting that they'll affiliate very strongly with the team and less strongly with the big corporate brand. So in essence, they're free agents in a lot of ways. As opportunities come about, they're going to be more mobile and more interested in making moves.
What about professional jobs, doctors, lawyers, things like that? Are we still seeing increasing numbers going to those areas, or are we seeing those numbers go lower?
Well, the legal field has finally started to rebound a bit.
Sure.
So that
Well, look at
falls
the
into
regulatory environment, right?
Exactly. So
Everybody needs tons of lawyers.
Absolutely. So that falls into the professional services category, as does consulting. I'm not certain on the data on medical. Are you, Rob?
No, I'm not. I don't have that information. But one of the facts that I find interesting is that only 15% of recent graduates want to work for large multinational corporations. The rest of them either want to work for government or small or medium-sized businesses. I find that very interesting.
Let me ask you about this scary stat that we've been talking about this morning for baby boomers. Education debt accounted for 15% of overall debt for retirees in 2013. Yeah. That was up from 1% in 1989, 1% to 15%. I get, this is the result of people helping kids and their grandchildren for college. They're helping them with money, and they're helping them by taking them in and having them live at their homes. How big of an issue is this?
Well, I mean, it's a social issue, right? And it also impacts the job market. Last time you and I chatted, we talked about the fact that these folks were working longer. Part of it is, I guess, what, 60's the new 40, maybe? The other part of it is that they're enjoying work, and they have a financial need on top of it, which this data shows. Quite surprising.
Yeah.
Well, I think the sad part is the baby boomers that are retiring between 65 and 74 years old have this debt burden from putting their kids through college, and they don't have a choice but to continue to work. Some of them might want to stop working, but they can't stop working.
Real quick on wages. We're seeing a couple of situations where wages are going up. Obviously, McDonald's, you've got Walmart. What kind of salaries are people making when they come out of college?
Oh, that's interesting. So I think, you're talking about in a metropolitan market, somewhere between a low of probably 40 to 45 still, with a lot of upside and anticipation of significant acceleration of that, to engineering and technology folks that could be earning, quite frankly, in the 100,000 range in some cases.
Depending on the skills that you have.
Exactly.
Look, I always tell people coming out of school, try as much as you can to take money out of the equation. Do what you love, but it's hard when you've got the realities of the rent being due. Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Maria. It was good to see
So
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you very much, Alan Guarino and Rob Basso.